What it is, what it do, it's your boy Malu, and I'm coming to you with a brand new episode from Drink Mo. And today, we talking about Mama Georgia Bea Jackson, the mother of two dragons.
Of course, anybody that's repressed should be united. They should be, but I don't know where they are or not. Everybody takes their own little sadness and hides with it, but I'm not hiding with mine. I want the people to know that I don't like what's been done to me, and I want everybody to know it. I want everybody to know that I've been sad and crying for 10 years for nothing.
Look, every beat I'm on, I never give it mercy. Like an alpha, the flow's ice cold. The flow H2O if you're thirsty. Everybody I spit suit your soul like.
Now, as we enter into Women's History Month, we are blessed with 5 Mondays to drink more water. And as we go through these Mondays, there's no way we can't talk about mothers, y'all. Because understand this. Without water, there's no life. Without women, there's no life. So in honor of all the women that have struggled, we're going to talk about a mother that sacrificed 2 of her sons to the Black Power struggle. Mama Georgia Bea Jackson.
I raised my children to love people. I raised them to mingle in American society, but American society didn't want them. American society didn't want them. American society didn't want them.
A lot of people moved from the South to the North looking for a better life. But what they found was some skullduggerous fuckery. You know what I'm saying? And it was cold on top of it, but that poverty was very, very similar and sometimes even worse. You dig? So as Georgia and her husband Lester sought to provide for their 5 children, you know, they had to get it how they lived, man.
Life was poor. We were very poor. We lived in cold water flat. But it was nice. It looked like a little dollhouse on the inside.
How was that?
Because I painted it and fixed it up nice, kept it clean. And everybody was always surprised when they came in our flat by the way it looked, you know, the outside and where it was without the way it looked inside.
When you say you were poor, how poor were you?
Very poor. We used to live, back in the 40s. My husband would make probably $19 or $20 a week. We would usually always buy baby food first. And if anything left, we'd buy something for ourselves. If it wasn't, we wouldn't. That's how poor we were.
Eventually, they were able to actually raise up enough money to move to California, which is, you know, a pretty big step up from Chicago, at least when it comes to the weather, you feel me? So they move out there hoping for, you know, hopefully this could be a little bit better, man. But what they saw, or should I say what they found when they got there was that their sons themselves, they were still targets.
My thoughts of George going to the youth authority is that somebody's going to try to help him if he needs help. But that was wrong. They don't try to help anybody when they take them in prison. They take them only to punish them. And in punishing them in this way, they either make them a idiot, they make them crawling on the ground, or in some instances, some people are strong enough not to become idiots. I felt like if George needed help, that this great country and this great state that we lived in could help him. I went along with the state to try to help him. I had to find out for myself, just like you will have to find out for yourself, that they didn't want to help him. They wanted to kill him. They wanted to make him a bootlicking lackey like most other black people in the country. And he didn't desire to be like that.
I went through all the processes. I tried to get out. I went to school, program. But now on the side, I was studying things that I felt that would help the community.
No black voice can get too loud in this country. It's always silenced. The minute somebody comes forward and tries to inform the masses of people white and black, what's going on.
Oh, not anymore.
But once you stop to think about these things, you might be impressed to the fact that, say, we're all Americans, and these things that are happening to other Americans just possibly might happen to me.
There's a quote from a guy that spent some time in a concentration camp. I'd like to read it to you. It says, "First they came for the socialists. I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists. I did not speak out because I wasn't a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews. I did not speak out because I wasn't a Jew. And then they came for me. And there was no one left to speak out."
I always look forward to going, but I have to leave. That's the bad part of going to see him. You have to leave him there. And I can't make you understand because you've never experienced it. But when we would go and visit him, and they would take him back, and I'd have to look at his back, walk away from us, and when I knew that he wanted to go home, we were so very bad. That's the part that hurt.
The letters to my family, my mother, my father, sisters, my brother, Jonathan, they were intended to familiarize them with the situation I was faced with here. Of course, here in prison, we see the repression, the exploitation, the victimization of lower class peoples.
Legal proceedings seemed to drag on endlessly, getting nowhere. In anger and frustration, George Jackson's 17-year-old brother Jonathan walked into the Marin County courthouse where 3 black prisoners from San Quentin were on trial. He threw them some guns and with their help took the judge, a district attorney and some of the jury hostage in an attempt to ransom his brother.
I think he did it for love. The love of his brother, and also love of his country. I think he probably, I try not to analyze him, because there's nobody knows what he was thinking except Jonathan. But I think he did it for love of his brother and his country. He was trying to wake the people in this country up to the fact that black people had nothing. You have nothing in this country. And he was trying to illustrate this to the people. That's what I think.
The guns that Jonathan Jackson used were shown to belong to Angela Davis, a black Marxist university professor. Angela, some of the letters that George wrote you are not revolutionary tracts, but they're love letters in almost the romantic sense. How close were you to George?
Well, we were very close, both as revolutionary comrades and also in a personal sense.
George Jackson wrote 2 books while he was in jail: Soledad Brother and Blood in My Eyes. When you read Soledad Brother, you could definitely say that and hear that George had some patriarchal views for show. But it was an evolutionary time for a brother, man, and that's where time matters. You feel me? Somebody can feel a certain way at this point, but if they have enough time to evolve their way of thinking and meet more people, he definitely meets Angela after Soledad Brother, you feel me? So once he gets acquainted to people like that, his views evolve, man. And when you read Blood in My Eyes, and especially when you listen to interviews of his after the book, his first book comes out, you see that he evolves his way of thinking.
I'm not going to ask the wash any dishes. If any dishes be washed in our military safe house, we wash them together. I concede all that. If she's willing to stand beside me and pull the trigger, it doesn't call for more than 3 pounds of pressure to pull the trigger. You cannot ignore an individual that's standing beside you with a gun. You just cannot do it. I'm saying this, that it's impossible for a man to fuck over a woman if she's got a gun too. You dig what I'm saying? I've got a gun, she's got a gun. I cannot push myself in front of her.
No,
That's a physical impossibility.
well, they might not have a gun, but they're intimidated from
Psychological intimidation from the past. Things from the past. It's heavy. It's really heavy. I understand that. But I'm saying that the only way we can begin to resolve the contradictions is with the practice.
Well, George is exposing what they're doing up there, and they don't like this. They haven't liked this.
Lester, let's deal with things very up front on this program. Let's forget that there are television cameras out there.
Let's put our cards on the table.
Are you charging the prison officials from Warden Lewis Nelson and the people who are running that prison, the guards and the security personnel, with assassination?
I'm saying that they murdered my oldest son, George, in his cell and planted him where they wanted to.
But I don't think that really that anybody can do anything about the prison system. I don't think that you people or I or anyone else can do anything until the people who have control, such as the governor and, well, maybe even the president or somebody like that, really wants the thing to change. We have all these rules. There's been 2 or 3 senators from California tried to make prison reform, but these rules and these changes get bogged down and stay there for 15 or 20 years, and nobody does anything about it. So in order for things to be changed, the powers that be has to change them. And we know they don't want them changed.
They don't want change. So it's truly up to us to dispel the lies and propaganda that's wrapped around our struggle.
I don't think it's a black liberation struggle. I think it's every American's in this country struggle. I think we're all Americans. I'm not an African. I'm a descendant from Africa, but I'm an American. Why should I be treated differently than any other American? That's what's the trouble here now. People try to make this a racial issue. It's not. It's a human issue. It's another human being mistreated by another human being. And we're all Americans. So if one American can be treated right, why can't all of us? I don't hold any animosity towards people because they're white. I hold it because they're repressors. The one that represses me is the one I don't like.
Could he be violent?
Only if people were violent to him. I can be violent also, and I imagine so can you. You see, that's the whole story of America. They take their violence and turn it back around on somebody else. I don't have to talk about American violence. You can look all over the world and see American soldiers everywhere fighting in other people's countries and killing them. So if I were running the country in America, I wouldn't open my mouth about violence. As many people as they've murdered in Vietnam in the past 10 years, and they're going to talk about violence. As many black people that get killed every day in this country and nobody knows or cares, and they're going to tell me about violence. How they wiped out a whole nation of Indians, and they're going to say something to me about violence. I don't want to hear it.
That George's death was inevitable, given the kind of things he was saying and writing.
They couldn't let him live. Wouldn't be any way possible for them to let him live. He's a black man. They're afraid that people will begin to listen, and they had. People all over the world had begun to listen to George, and I certainly know the people in this country had. That's the reason why they framed him to be murdered the way he was, to try to discredit everything that he had said, to try to paint him as an insane maniac, an animal. That was the reason for it.
So in conclusion,
I don't care what anybody says, my son was not a mad dog. He wasn't a mad dog killer, and that's what they couldn't stand. They couldn't stand that they had kept him there for 10 years and still hadn't made him what he wanted him to be. A lackey, a broken man, and somebody that they could just control.
I never give it mercy.
Drink more water, darling.
I never give it mercy.